makes it clear in the Bible. We can't just pick and choose what we want to believe and what we want to talk about. It's there. It's in the Bible. Paul says it. This is a verse that clearly identifies the enemy, and it is Satan and his demons. Now, let me say that we're making a big mistake if we believe that this problem and this war that we're fighting is against people. I know we all have those people in our lives that just drive us crazy, right? They cause us pain, they cause us anger, but this war is not against people. Let me say that again. We are making a big mistake if we think people are the real problem here. People can be bad, no doubt, but they're just pawns in this battle. If you're focusing on people and you think that's how you're going to win this war, you're wrong, people. No pun intended there. But you're wrong. You can't focus on the people. I mean, I'm not saying you don't. Ultimately, you get there, but you got to start someplace else. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Satan has been successful in getting us to fight people rather than fighting that which is causing people to be the way they are. Do you get that? Satan's been so successful in getting us to fight other people rather than going to the real root of the problem that's causing those people to be the way they are. Why do you think people do the things they do? C.S. Lewis says in his book, The Screwtape Letters, I don't know if you ever read that book, but it's basically a fiction book. It's made up, but he gets in the mind of demons. And he basically, the story tells about how these demons wake up every day and they're assigned to a certain person. I got one assigned to me, right? The demons, they say, how am I going to influence Jim today? And they're doing all these things, and they're talking amongst themselves, and they're influencing people and making them do things that they want them to do. And we're just the puppets, right? They're pulling the strings, and we're doing whatever they want us to do. And this book, C.S. Lewis says it was the most difficult book that he's ever had to write. Because it took him 6 months to write it. He says, for 6 months, imagine that I had to get into the mind of a demon. And I had to think like that. He says that was an unbelievably negative effect of me. But he says at the same time it was one of the best books I've ever written for me because it made me aware of this spiritual battle that's going on. And he says, and it also made me understand so many of the things that are going on in my life that I could never understand before. And now I have a little insight as to why they were happening. Why people would respond the way they did and why I would respond the way I did. This is C.S. Lewis saying that. So let me lay down this, guys, a foundational principle for spiritual warfare. Everything we see in the visible physical realm is caused, provoked, or at least influenced by something in the invisible spiritual realm. Everything you see in the visible physical realm is at least caused or influenced in some way by the spiritual realm, the invisible realm. Well, there's two worldviews on this, and we all know them. I worked at Intersil Corporation. I worked with a lot of engineers. Very bright people. Very bright people. I mean, it made you feel kind of dumb sometimes when you're around these people. They're really smart. PhDs. And these guys had a worldview. It's called, they call it the natural or materialistic worldview. And they're the ones that are the scientific worldview. We can figure it out. It's got to make sense, right? Well, if we can get under a microscope, study it, or if we can get a mathematical equation to make sense of it, that's how it all works. Well, the problem with that is it's limited to the physical realm, only what they can see. And I'm talking about an invisible force here. I'm talking about a spiritual battle, and this particular scientific view cannot explain it. In fact, they reject it. And consequently, they're the puppets that are getting manipulated, getting moved, and they don't even know it. Now, the other worldview is the spiritual worldview. And that's the one that we Christians hold. But I want to tell you something. In recent years, in fact, through all time, but recently, in the last 20 years, it's really gotten popular to have this spiritual worldview. In fact, most people have that view. Oh, does that mean most people are Christians, Jim? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying most people have that view, right? God's within, God is me, it's myself. God's the earth. God's everything. God's everywhere. You know, we know God's everywhere, but the point is, it's all about me, my inner being. Let me tell you something important here, guys. It's possible to have a spiritual worldview, but be plugged into the wrong spirit. Amen? That's another problem we have. So we as Christians, I want to make sure today that we understand and we're going to get plugged in to the right spirit. So I'm kind of laying a foundation here, and I'm kind of saying, okay, yeah, we got a battle going on. It's a spiritual battle. We can't fight it ourselves. We need to look, and we need to fight it on the spiritual level, but we got to get plugged into the right spirit. And I'm here to tell you guys, this spiritual realm is real. Don't think for 1 second it isn't. Now the impact of this battle. I said it's a spiritual battle, but you can look around and you can see the physical effects of this battle. No question about it. I'm going to talk about 3 areas that affect you. It affects your personal life. Every one of us in here have been affected by this spiritual battle. Now, some of us in much more degree than others. There's no question about that. But I want to tell you something. It affects you every day. We all experience emotions. How about anger? If you look in Ephesians 4:25 through 27, Paul says, "Therefore each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to his neighbor. For we are all members of one body. In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold." What's he saying there? He's saying if your emotional times, if you're angry and you sin and you react to that anger negatively, you're allowing the devil to come in and get a foothold in your life. And when the devil gets a foothold in your life, he's setting up his base of operations, and he's going to work from there. He's going to affect you in ways that you can't even imagine.